Welcome back. This is Ear Training for the Working Musician, the Unit 4 practice exam. If you're following along in the book, this is on page 31. Today I'm going to just initiate this practice exam in a similar way to how I would initiate an exam that I hold in a classroom setting. For example, this interval identification and notation portion, you'll specify whether the two pitches are a minor sixth or a major sixth. You'll notate the second pitch using a half note. All right, our first one is going to be starting with treble clef B flat. So I'll play these each 4 times. The second starts with bass clef G sharp. Then we're starting with tenor clef middle C. The fourth one is going to be alto clef F. And our last one is treble clef C sharp. Okay, let's go through them. The first one is going to be a major sixth, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. So we end up on a D flat. You'd write a capital M and a sixth. I'm just going to show you how to write that first one, and then you can write the rest of them yourself. But here is the second one. So we have this. So this will be do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, do, la. Minor sixth, ascending, we end up on an E above middle C. You'll write a lowercase m6. Then we have the tenor clef. So, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi. That is a minor sixth if we descend from do to mi. So minor sixth starting on C would end up on an E. The fourth one, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. So major sixth. So for that pitch, we would end up on an A flat. The last one, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. Major sixth. So we started on a C sharp, we end up on an A sharp. All right. Then you're on to the rhythmic dictation portion. This rhythmic dictation is going to be similar to what we've been doing in this chapter. We're dealing with compound duple 6/8, starting with a dotted quarter note, ending with a dotted quarter note. Just a reminder that this is pitchless, you're just dealing with the note value. So I'll play it through for you 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, set, go. All right, here it is the second time. 1, 2, 3, 4, set, go. third time. 1, 2, 3, ready, set, go. This is the fourth playthrough. 1, 2, 3, 4, set, go. This is the fifth time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go. And you have 2 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, set, go. And here it is, the last playthrough. 1, 2, 3, 4, set, go. Awesome. Let's start with the last measure. The last measure went 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6. So we'll do 8th note followed by a 16th note. So we have 1, 2, and then this will be beat 3. And then I give you beat 4. So 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6. Measure 1 was also pretty simple. We had this repeated, dotted quarter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bar 2, we had this 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6. This same dotted figure in measure 4 will be repeated up here. And we'll repeat it 2 times. So we had 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then measure 3 has this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's it. Okay, we'll go on to the melodic dictation portion next. Okay, for this melody, we're going to be in the key of A minor. Here's the key center. We're starting on Do and ending on Do. I give you an 8th note for the starting pitch and a quarter note for the ending pitch. We are in 3/8 for this example, using similar rhythms to what we've been doing previously in this unit. For this one, I'll play it through 8 times. 1, 2, 3, ready, set, go. Here it is again, ready, set, go. is the third time. 1, 2, 3, ready, set, go. Here it is the fourth time. 1, 2, 3, ready, set, go. This is the fifth time. Ready, set, go. So you have 3 more listens. Ready, set, go. Twice more. Ready, set, go. And here's the last playthrough. Ready, set, go. Okay, let's discuss this. So we had this do to here, do, sol, and then up to a me, do, sol, me. It's just a 1 chord in second inversion. So do, sol, me. And then we had this re, do, re. And that is dotted, followed by a 16th note. One, 2, and 3, re, do, re. And then we ended up on sol, sol, me, sol, sol, sol. And then we ended up with a T, do. In this key, if you have a T, we need to have this raised. So you raise the leading tone. Okay, so these are your bass notes. Section D is triad, identification, and notation. You'll determine whether the triads are major or minor in quality. Using the given pitch as the lowest chord tone, notate the triad, write the chord symbol above the triad, specify the inversion using slash chord notation. So everything we've just been doing in this unit. Here's that bass. I'm gonna play this chord for you 4 times. We're starting with the F sharp. Here we go. The next one we start with a bass note of D. Here's the chord. Here's the bass note of E. And here's the chord. Next, we're starting with a bass note of G. Here's the chord. And the last one begins with the bass note of E flat. Here's the bass, here's the chord. All right, let's discuss them. So the first one sounded like this. So we had F sharp and up to here, 1, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. For the outer notes, it's a minor 6th, but it's a major chord because it sounds pretty uplifting. So the middle note ends up being an A. This is a D. I'm gonna write the chord symbols below today, but this is gonna be D over F sharp. Usually chord symbols go above for reference. This is just because of my limitations on this board. The next one sounded like this. So we had here for the low note and here for the high note. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. So another minor 6 for the outer notes, but this time it is a minor triad as well. So our inner pitch ends up being a G. To make a minor triad, we would call this G minor over D. So we'd write capital G, lowercase m, or minus slash D. The third chord sounds like this. So we had here, and then here, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. So this one's a major 6th on the outside. So we ended up with E to C sharp. And then we had an A as the middle note to make it a major triad. This is an A over E chord, saying it's an A major chord, but the bass note is E. The fourth one sounded like this. So we had here for the bass, here for the high note. 1, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. This time it's a major 6 for the outer notes. So G to E, but it's going to be a minor triad. So the middle note has to be a B in order to make this an E minor chord. So we write E with a lowercase m or a minus over G. The last chord was just a root position major triad. This is E flat major. Do, mi, sol. So E flat. There you go. All right, let's go on to the last section. On to section E, this is going to be the 4-part notation portion. You'll notate the soprano, alto, tenor, and bass lines using whole notes. Provide a Roman numeral analysis below, as well as a chord symbol analysis above. Specify which type of cadence is used. So our first one begins in the key of C major here. And I give you this chord starting on G, B, D, G. So we'll start by emphasizing the bass. I'll bring it out 2 times. Here we go. Here it is a second time. All right, here's our soprano line next. Soprano starts on sol as well. Soprano. Here we go. I'll emphasize this 2 times as well. Here we go. One more time with the soprano emphasized. Let's bring out the alto line next. So alto starts on re. Here's re. again. This time let's emphasize the tenor, which begins on T. T, here we go. Here it is again. And then the last time, let me play it equal voicing. Okay, so let's start with the bass line. We had this sol, mi, do, ti. Then our soprano line had this sol, sol, do, re. Alto had this re, do, mi, re. And tenor had this ti, do, sol, sol. So that at this point you can do the Roman numerals. This becomes a 5 chord. This is a 1, 6. This is a 1. And this is a 5, 6. Up here we would call this a G chord, so just a capital G. This would be a C over E. This is a C. This is a G over B. And the type of cadence used if we go from 1 to 5 at the end would be a half cadence. All right, we'll go on to the next example. All right, if you're in the first edition of this book, your first starting chord in your part is actually incorrect. So replace it with these pitches. We'll have a B flat in the bass, D in the tenor, G in the alto, and then a D in the soprano. We're going to be in the key of D minor for this example here. Here's the key. Bass begins here on lay. Here we go. I'll emphasize the bass 2 times. Here it is again with that bass. All right, here's the soprano line starting on do. Here's do soprano. Here it is again with that soprano voice. Okay, this time let's emphasize the alto. Alto begins on fa. Here we go. Here it is again. Okay, this time we'll emphasize the tenor. Tenor starts on do. Here we go. Here it is again. right, let's write this in. So we had tenor le, sol, fa, mi. Alto had do, ti, do. So we have to raise that T and then up to a mi. Alto had fa, so fa, do, re, or fa, sol, le, sol. And tenor had do, re, and sol, back down to do. So this is going to start out with a 4/6 chord. Then we have a 5 chord, a 4 chord, and a 1 chord. Our chord symbols above, this would be a G minor over a B flat. This would be an A, this would be a G minor, and this would be a D minor over F. And if we have a 4 to 1, sorry, this will be 1/6. 4 to 1/6 is a plagal cadence. All right, and that's everything on the practice exam. So if any of this is feeling stressful, I would definitely go and practice on teoria, also listen to music, have your friends play chords for you, things like that. Happy practicing!